Yo, welcome back to the Sidetrack show, episode 3. And this one's different. We usually go off track, chase tech, gadgets, stories, but today we're grounded in a way we wish we weren't.
That's right. This episode isn't about pixels, upgrades, or spec sheets. It's about a tragedy that shook India and stunned the aviation world, the crash of Air India Flight 171 in Ahmedabad just days ago.
This isn't a fictional thriller, it's real. A routine flight, a modern jet, 242 souls on board, and in under 90 seconds, it all went horribly wrong.
Over 240 lives lost, one survivor, and so many questions still unanswered. What went wrong in the sky over Gujarat? Why did a jet known for its safety fall from the sky?
We've been digging into every detail for the past few days, and today we're going to walk you through the timeline, the aftermath, the human stories, and the latest in the investigation, including the black box update that just dropped.
Let's set the scene. It's Thursday, June 12, 2025, a hot, dry afternoon in Ahmedabad. Flight AI-171, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, is preparing for takeoff at Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport.
Destination? London Gatwick Airport, UK. A long-haul international route, something this Dreamliner was built for. Sleek, fuel-efficient, with cutting-edge systems. This wasn't an old bird.
This specific aircraft was around 11 years old, part of Air India's flagship 787 fleet. It had undergone routine maintenance just 2 months earlier. Nothing in the logs pointed to red flags. In fact, aviation tracking shows it had flown Mumbai-Newark just last week.
The manifest included 230 passengers and 12 crew. Nationalities were diverse. 169 Indians, 53 British nationals, 7 Portuguese, and 1 Canadian. A mix of tourists, students, business travelers, families. Just like any other international flight.
Boarding was smooth, takeoff clearance granted. At 13:38 IST, the plane was cleared for departure from runway 23.
Here's where everything flipped. Less than 90 seconds after liftoff, the Dreamliner was climbing, but then something went wrong.
The aircraft reached about 625 feet. That's roughly a 60-story building before its climb stalled. Radar data shows a sudden drop in speed and altitude, and then total loss of signal.
Eyewitnesses on the ground described hearing a strange, high-pitched sound, followed by what sounded like an explosion in midair. Seconds later, the jet crashed directly into the BJ Medical College hostel, a 5-story residential building for medical students and interns.
The impact was catastrophic. A massive fireball erupted. CCTV footage from nearby clinics shows the plane vanishing behind the rooftops, and then, boom, a flash. Debris flung hundreds of meters, smoke rising high.
The entire front fuselage, cockpit, business class, vaporized in the blast. Parts of the wings tore through neighboring buildings. The tail section of the plane was left dangling off the hostel's top floor, mangled but bizarrely intact.
The crash ignited multiple fires, in the aircraft and in the hostel. Emergency responders arrived within 8 minutes, but by then, the entire front section of the plane and parts of the building had collapsed or burned out.
Now, somehow, there was one survivor, a 40-year-old British national named Vishwash Ramesh.
He was seated in the rear section, near an emergency exit. According to medical staff, he was thrown clear of the wreckage as the tail section buckled on impact.
He told rescue teams that he heard a sudden, metallic thud just after the plane lifted off. Then, vibrations. And then, silence. Darkness. When he came to, he was on the ground, covered in soot and fuel, legs broken, but conscious.
He's currently recovering at Civil Hospital Ahmedabad. Multiple fractures, second-degree burns, but miraculously, he's expected to survive. His testimony could become critical in understanding what happened inside the cabin in those final moments. The crash claimed 241 lives, including passengers and crew. Among the victims were Captain Sumit Sabharwal, a seasoned pilot with over 8,200 flight hours, and First Officer Clive Kundar, who had accumulated more than 11,000 hours in the cockpit.
On the ground, at least 33 more lost their lives. Students and staff in the hostel, passers-by, vendors. More than 50 injured, many critically. Some remain on ventilators.
Among the confirmed victims, Vijay Rupani, former Gujarat Chief Minister, who was traveling to London for a conference, also lost, a UK-based Indian origin family of 5, 2 Portuguese students, and multiple doctors returning from a medical symposium.
The stories coming out are just soul-wrenching. A newlywed couple heading to their honeymoon in Europe, a grandmother flying to meet her first grandchild, and students in the hostel, some who had just moved in that week.
Immediately after the crash, India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, AAIB, launched a full-scale probe joined by officials from the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, and UK Air Accidents Investigation Branch, AAIB UK.
As of June 14th, both black boxes have been recovered, the Flight Data Recorder, FDR, and the Cockpit Voice Recorder, CVR. They're currently being analyzed at a lab in New Delhi with support from Boeing engineers.
Initial signals suggest that a Mayday call was transmitted 4 seconds before impact, but wasn't completed. Audio captures what investigators are calling mechanical irregularities and possible alarm chimes.
Investigators are focusing on 3 primary possibilities. 1. Mechanical failure, especially around the flap system or thrust asymmetry. 2. Bird strike. Ahmedabad Airport is known for frequent bird activity, and engines could have been damaged. 3. Power loss or stall, possibly from a software glitch or engine surge.
The plane's GE/GEnx engines are being examined for evidence of ingestion or sudden failure. The right engine was completely destroyed in the crash. The left is partially intact and being shipped to a forensic lab.
Air India has temporarily grounded all 787s pending a fleet-wide inspection. Other airlines using the same engine variant have also been issued advisories.
The tragedy has left India mourning, with flags at half-mast in Gujarat. The government has announced 15 lakh compensation for each victim's family and launched a helpline for relatives abroad.
In London, memorials have popped up near Gatwick and in Southall. Families there are calling for a joint investigation and transparency from both Air India and Boeing.
Public confidence in Indian aviation is shaken. This is the worst aviation accident in India since 2010, and the first ever fatal crash involving a Boeing 787 Dreamliner globally.
Air India's CEO has promised, quote, complete cooperation, but also hinted at frustration with maintenance contractors. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation, DGCA, is under pressure for not acting on earlier whistleblower complaints. You know, Nova, this whole thing just hits different. Not because it's rare, but because it could have been anyone. A glitch, a freak incident, and that's it. Game over.
It's a reminder of how fragile flight can be.
So what now? The investigation could take months. Lawsuits are already in motion, and for thousands of families, closure may never fully come.
We'll keep tracking this. If you have stories, insights, or questions, send them in. And if you're in aviation, we'd love to hear your perspective. Should the 787s be grounded longer? Is this a design flaw or a tragic outlier?
This one's gonna stay with us. And if it stays with you too, talk about it. Share it. Demand answers.
To everyone affected by the AI-171 crash, our hearts are with you.
We're Cyro and Nova. Stay curious.
Stay tuned.